You've reached the HubSpot helpline. Helpline.
It's Rob, it's George, it's Casey, and Kyle. Come with a problem and leave with a smile. Every Friday at 3, come and join us as we help you with HubSpot. Open up your LinkedIn, just make sure you call in and leave a voicemail about HubSpot. Make your Friday divine with the HubSpot helpline.
Welcome back to the HubSpot helpline. We already lied. It is not Rob, George, Casey, Kyle today because Kyle and George are not here. But we do have a baby. We have special guest, Sarah Lanehorn, and the baby's name is
Hayden.
I just like calling him baby. We have a baby here. We also have Chris. So we have the bearded wonder. We have Casey Hawkins, Greyhound of the helpline. And we have me, the host. How's everybody doing on this fantastic Friday?
Doing good.
Happy to be here with a 50% attendance.
Yes. Well,
I know
100%.
I'm feeling better about that as well.
There technically are 5 people on the call, which is 100%. And we now we've evened it up. I know the comments yesterday were, I don't remember that conversation ever having happened. Just as a spoiler, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and check the tape or read the post. But I plead the fifth.
Firmly do.
and maybe another amendment. I don't remember that at all. But we are now here, and we're willing and ready to dive into some HubSpot help and problems. Chris, cue the voicemails.
No voicemails this week, Rob. I'm sorry. Everybody's figured out HubSpot, you know? Apparently.
They know it all now.
That's what I've been saying for a while. There's
Yeah.
no way this can take off because of the 280,000 customers or some odd. Every single one of them, 100% adoption, no problems ever. No, there weren't 200 plus updates, announced a month ago. Everybody's.
I mean, hey, what better KPI? Like profoundly plus supered, basically.
Has solved all the problems.
Solved the HubSpot gap.
There we go. Even the pink guitar, I'd like to attribute at least 13% directly to the pink guitar. Yeah, none of that is true. If you're listening right now, it's not true at all. We routinely have people that come in and join the chat and ask things, so maybe that will happen today. But first, I want Sarah to tell the people, other than the baby, why are you qualified to be here? I know from doing Super's Admin of the Year contest this year, I got to dive into different admin. Casey, Chris, we're both in that, and you as well. So we actually have 75% are Admin of the Year nominees, which is awesome. But you won last year, so there's that qualification. What else would you say about your expert level HubSpot qualifications?
Oh, I mean, I've been doing ops work coming from a marketing background and then following the full life cycle conversion path, starting back in like 2012, and then diving completely into HubSpot over the last, I guess it's been like 6 years now, 5 going on 6 years. And I really love this industry and this career and the HubSpot crew because like helping is a huge value of mine. So especially these humans on this call, like Chris and Casey are both just, they're helpers at heart. So more than qualification, I think there's some shared desire here to be of support and actually encourage and help other people become good users of the things that they want to learn. So that's what I'm here.
I love that. Yeah, what I heard was you taught everybody on this call and the 2 people not on the call everything they know. That's what I got out of that.
Everything.
Okay. That's fair.
And Phil,
I can't wait to learn.
Filled George's shoes pretty effectively in the process because you said help her, the right number of times. It's like he's here. He's like,
I try-
it's like he's here.
Well, you know, we both were in youth ministry, and I called him out on it before I knew him. I was like, "You were a youth pastor, weren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, picking up the youth pastor vibes. I'm like, we've got that in common. So yeah, we both care a lot about helping, and I mean, this one is clearly already knows everything about HubSpot too. So like, I put that on my resume now, like. Trained up the next generation HubSpot expert, can answer any questions you have.
Seriously, probably knows more than I do, and I'm 36, I think now. Don't remember how old I am. That's how bad I am. Yeah, I like that. If you start playing sound effects and doing the robot voice and have the Imperial March, and I close my eyes, it feels like George is on this call with some of the things you've already said about helping people. So I appreciate the call out of the intent. Speaking of, I'm trying to get better at my host transitions and segues. Speaking of helping people, we have no voicemails, but I know Chris has spent hours, probably days even, preparing things for us to weigh in on and talk about on this hour-long show. I'm going to give it to our co-host slash producer for what we're going to be discussing, jumping into first.
All right. Well, let's jump into the Reddit mailbag because that always brings us back down to earth about what
there we go.
The actual knowledge level of HubSpot is.
Reddit's good fodder for any conversation.
Yeah. Receiving calls to mobile app versus forwarding. Are there any cons to receiving calls via the HubSpot mobile app instead of having them forwarded to my phone number? I'm guessing this is a new feature they added.
Does the call forwarding get logged? Does the call forwarding get logged? Question mark?
Question mark. I'm assuming this is using HubSpot numbers and HubSpot calling, and then they're just asking if forwarding is better or worse than just calling through the HubSpot app itself. I don't know of anything that makes it better or worse. I think it would, for me, matter more like what other things are we trying to do? Like, are you using SMS? Are we like what are we doing on this call? Do we want to have the actual transcript logged? Like, are we using other integrations? But no, I have no immediate like, don't ever do that warning information.
I'm looking at this now. This is a hard question for me.
Some verified HubSpot support answers in the Reddit thread, because I personally don't have, like, currently there's an active client probably strongly considering moving their voice over IP system into HubSpot, and that's very exciting. We've already seen the power on this show when just going through voicemails and the Breeze summaries and all that stuff. So we know how important that's going to be, but I don't have a bunch of experience. I do think, and I hope one of the ways that everybody understands that Reddit does bring us back down to earth is how hard it is to answer questions like this when very little context is given and certain words are used to mean certain things that we probably can't know how they're defining it without a conversation. So I'm going to jump into this verified HubSpot support response from HubSpot Help 3 hours ago. From a HubSpot perspective, receiving calls directly through the HubSpot mobile app can be convenient as you get call logging, automatic recording if enabled, and all call activity tracked right in CRM without any extra steps. It's a great way to keep everything centralized. One thing to keep in mind is that calls come through the app itself rather than your regular phone line. So your device's notifications and do not disturb settings will control how you're alerted. Some users like having everything in HubSpot for tracking, while others prefer the familiarity of their native phone app. And then the OP responded, yeah, I got a call through the app today and had to unlock my Android phone before it would let me answer the call. Any idea if there's a way to allow the call through the lock screen?
Yeah, Yeah, some of those limitations would be my only concern is like in your own phone, I would assume it didn't log it as a call either. If it's coming just through the app, it would be logged in the app as an inbound, but it won't probably be logged in your phone as a call. So if you also like use that to dial back for people or send them information from your direct sales line or something, I could see a limitation there. So I think it depends on more like, do you live in HubSpot? Like, is that where you do the majority of your work, or is your team's preference to like kind of do other things outside of HubSpot and just do the minimum of logging? So work preference over data.
Yeah, this is even the receiving calls versus placing the calls and how like what's their role, what's the functionality. That's an interesting one. Because standardizing that, I think, for logging the call and being able to attach notes to the correct thing is interesting. If it's an incoming call and you answer it a different way, or it's blocked or prevented, is that set up to be able to track and record things? There was one other comment in here about HubSpot contacts versus unknown number. Like, does it log that and create new content? So, yeah, more clarity on some of these questions would be super helpful. I'm ready to just dive into an essay that has every possible detail outlined that we can evaluate and speak.
Every scenario.
Yeah, that's like half of the work that we do at Profoundly. When somebody comes in and has a request, it's like, can we help you, like, give the pros a chance, to respond effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, everybody knows it's like, let's just get on a 15-minute call, like, and just figure it out. It's so hard to do this asynchronously right now, like with HubSpot. But good to see activity in these spots. And that's ultimately why I want to do things like this show as well. Because we need to talk about this stuff more.
Well, and those questions, I think, also shed light on what HubSpot is and why most of us are kind of attached to using it, is that there isn't right and wrong. Like we can't always give you like yes or no, because it depends on that's always the answer. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to streamline? Is this just for you, or is it for the whole team? How does it connect to your business goals? Is this even the right thing we're trying to solve for? Do we need to zoom out? Like, and it's when you do that, then like you get to actually use all the features in the way that work for you, whether you're using it out of the box or whether you customize it. So I think that's the cool thing, is because there is other software out there that like we would have the answer and we would tell them yes or no, because there is a right or wrong way to use the software. But with HubSpot, like, I don't know what you want to do with it. Then we'll figure out how to build it.
Yeah, there's context, and there's also, depending upon the context, and order of operations. And for some reason, there's like a riddle that's, you're in an abandoned house, it's freezing. There's what is it? A fireplace, a stove, a candle, and a lantern. You only have one match. What do you light first?
Candle.
The match.
Oh.
So, well, it worked really well there. So that's kind of the point, is like, before jumping into some of the things that seem more that are more readily apparent and obvious, taking a step back to understand the context and what's actually being asked tends to be, deliver the best results. I have one from the Reddit mailbag, Chris, that's specifically for you, although I'd like Casey to weigh in first on this. This is from 4 days ago.
Can I highlight one more thing? Because I always try to talk about the gap between admin expectations and sales rep expectations and why adoption can be so hard. This reminds me of like the classic cases where everybody gets excited about new functionality. And they're like, all right, guys, you can order, you can, you can answer calls via the HubSpot app, everything will get logged, be fine. And then they run into things like, I got to unlock my screen to answer. What? Like, no, don't, I'm not using that. Like, stop it. Right. And that's the reaction, instead of like trying to work to figure it out. So it's good that this person's asking, but to think that it's that kind of hurdle, like, it's so hard to find that part. Right. And if it's simple unlock, that then it gets easier to explain, like, okay, what else about the process might we need to update to help get that adoption?
Love it. No dead air here. I'm gonna go into this one. Chris, don't look at Reddit for a minute. It's from 4 days ago from a Reddit user. The question: does anyone actually like HubSpot AI? Every time I use HubSpot's AI, I feel disappointed, from the bad generate property AI to the useless workflow action generations. Every time I try it, I feel like I wasted time. In workflows, I see a lot of interesting agents. I just can't convince myself it's even worth the time to test. Can anyone tell me I'm wrong and they are actually worth looking into, testing, etc.? A lot of engagement on this one, which is why I wanted to ask it. Okay, I'll give it to you first, Casey.
This is very funny. I will say I feel that question, because I have gone into the AI tool and have been disappointed. Chris, I will tell the story. I've told the story on lives before. Chris was trying to show me something to do with Bree's assistant a couple weeks ago. Chris is telling me the prompts to put in, and if you're watching and you don't know why Rob said this is for Chris, Chris is big AI guy, big Breeze guy, power user.
He may be a clone right now and we just aren't aware of it, but go ahead.
I am not a power user. I am a user. I am not a power user. So Chris is showing me what to do. It got stuck. It got stuck in a loop. We couldn't get it out of the loop, and we had to close the chat and open a new one. I, not a power user, would have just said, screw it, and left. If Chris wasn't on the call with me and told me to open a new chat, I certainly would have just given up on, at least in that moment. When I first told this story on a live, though, what I also said was, I think our expectations of AI are crazy high right now. And anytime AI makes a mistake, we're all it's useless. See, I knew it was useless this whole time. Versus I use AI constantly. It works well most of the time. And then sometimes it gets stuck in a loop and I have to restart. Or it gets something wrong. But I think if you think that HubSpot's AI isn't working, look at your prompts. And keep trying.
I have so much to say here. Sarah, Chris, do you want to go in, or do you want me to launch into this rant? We need a good rant because George isn't here. So,
just a couple of things. I also am I use AI in certain capacities, but I'm one of the people who I'm very nice to ChatGPT, so that if it does take over, it'll like me. And so I say please and thank you.
As you
and I
should.
make sure that I finish the conversations and I circle back to them if I have, good feedback from what they have done. But that said, using it within HubSpot when it first was launched, I felt was really, really limited, and there wasn't a lot of guidance of how to use it effectively. So therefore, same experience that's being described, right? The output isn't usable, so then we give up and we assume that the problem is the feature and the functionality, when in reality, most of us don't think like computers. And so we try to just put input in as if it is a human, and we expect output as if it's a human, and it's not. And so I think those of us who have gotten really good at managing people and training people and understanding, hey, I need to take you stepwise through this, and I need to show you the checks and balances, and I need to show you references so that you can check your own work. That's what you're doing with AI. You've got to think of AI as a junior resource on your team that you are responsible for, and you need to be able to check its work, and you need to be able to verify it's good, and then you can help it kind of graduate and learn and get better and go off on its own. But that for me has been the best way to think about it, is how would I have a junior person on an ops team execute this effectively? What are all the details I would have to give them? Because they're not going to read my mind and they're not just going to know to do it. And then it becomes useful. So that's my not rant, but my feedback on it. Rant away, Rob.
Chris, do you want to step in here first, or
You go.
all right, real quick. This is a guitar, right? I have two on my wall. It's a tool. If I tell the guitar, hey, play a song, right? It's probably not going to do very well without somebody orchestrating that as an operator. If it's me, there will be one type of output that will probably destroy your eardrums, not be, whatever. If I give this to Eddie Van Halen or John Mayer or whoever, you can expect a much better outcome.
Taylor Swift was another option. Just
Taylor
put
Swift,
it on the record.
That's immediately what I thought of. I was like, why are we not getting on the Taylor Swift bandwagon here? We need views of this video. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a virtuoso she is. The point is, it's almost as effective as whose hands it's currently in. I could have used a canvas or painting or carving marble or whatever. It's very much to me in that vein. And Casey and Sarah both said like they've experimented, they've dabbled with it. If you were to put it in terms of hours per week, what does that look like? Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. It's increased. Chris I would wager spends 20 to 30 hours a week, if not more than that, like experimenting and building and collaborating with other people that are insanely talented and also are high power users like Nico Lafakis and other people. So for you to, when I say you, for whoever made this comment and for other people that are, I'm not really getting out of it what I want. There is the reality that it's new, it's changing and updating, and the HubSpot team is doing a great job with that. So you might today have a problem or experience something that's an issue, and tomorrow even be like, wow, this is much better. Not 1% better every day, but this is 20% better day over day. The other reality is that the use cases, what you're actually using it to do, right? Sarah said like a junior person or like a human that you're in charge of. If I tell my son who's 7 to do something versus like clean up versus ask my wife to do it, ask my wife, she'd probably tell me to do it. But you're going to get a different output there. So whatever the use case is, not only for the prompt and input and who's operating AI at this point, but what's being asked to do are a lot of what goes into the experience of. I typed in 3 misspelled words and it didn't write me, a ballad, or I had a bunch of typos, or I didn't. I've seen prompts engineered that look like coding. Like Veo is a good example of that. There was a viral Veo video that was the confetti explosion, and it's like, here's the prompt. That was mind blowing to see the outcome based on the very, very specific input for like a 4-second video. So when all of that rant to say, whenever people are complaining about it, I would first of all be patient. There's a bit about like my cell phone was taking a minute to dial. It's like, it's going to space. You're not patient enough, but it's coming. The signal is coming back from outer space. So be patient. We live in an impatient world with no attention spans and want everything to be perfect yesterday. I would be patient with it. And 2 is like, improve your own understanding of both what the tool can do, what its use cases for. That's different from Claude to GPT to other LLMs, right? They have different use cases that are people prefer and are better at, and get better yourself at being able to actually use the tool. Chris, go ahead.
First, shout out to Trisha Merriam for like representing as a bright light in this thread that I'm not going to go through the thread, but sharing her journey, talking about hits, talking about misses, like a lot like Sarah's response, like measured, understanding it's not good or bad. Like most things are not good or bad. Now, before I get into my thoughts on tool or not tool, the difference in how we answer this, right? So the original post, does anyone actually like HubSpot AI? I'm going to read through it without the word AI in it. Does anyone actually like HubSpot? Every time I use HubSpot, I'm disappointed. From the bad generate property UI to the useless workflow actions, every time I try it, I feel like I wasted time. In workflows, I see a lot of interesting, let's say, actions, but I just can't convince myself it's even worth the time to test. Can anyone tell me I'm wrong? And that it's actually worth testing or using. We see stuff like that all the time too. And we've been seeing it for a long time. Why do the four of us answer that question so differently than the way that we answer it when AI is now involved? Because we trust HubSpot can work and can be very, very good for businesses because of the experience we have with HubSpot, because of the way we can help people create a strategy and then build it into HubSpot instead of relying on HubSpot to execute the strategy for us, right? So the parallels, first of all, the expectations between humans and AI and now like HubSpot versus AI. Like we don't trust AI enough yet. That's why we're answering it so differently than if AI were not there, right? One of my first use cases and why it's like 100% mindset, in my opinion. And if you are testing and you're not learning, then yes, you are wasting your time. Like if you're going to touch AI, but it's almost always a learning experience only if you understand your role in the process. When Ask Breeze workflow actions first came out, our good friend Willem created like this prompt, website, and one of the first use cases that was fun to like use and nail 100% was, how did you hear about us? Like taking that from an open text, normalizing the data, something that everybody's been wanting to do for a while, pain point that if you're going to do it, you got to do all this work to process it. And I was seeing all this stuff on LinkedIn, like everybody was excited about it. And then I did it. And the workflow was like 50% like garbage, like 50% results were bad. And in that moment, because of where I had been with AI, I assumed it was my fault, not AI's. Because there's all this stuff around me saying that AI is supposed to be able to do this. And then in that moment, I trusted that AI is the expert there. So I looked at what I could be doing differently. It was a token change that wasn't right. I changed that. It was 100% accurate after that. Right. And so when I work with people, it's not how many times you use it, how much time you spend with it. It's 100% related to, do you trust that it is the most intelligent thing you've ever worked with in your life? And that if it's not giving you the outcomes you expect, it's very likely the context that it has or does not have, the restrictions of the specific, type of AI you're working with, and the difference, as another example, when I work with Claude, I am much more I like to give space to see what's going to happen. I'm much less prescriptive in what I want versus when I work with Breeze, I try to be as prescriptive as possible, because when you're not, that's when you get worse results. And it makes sense for trying to do things in a system of structured data. If you don't give structured instructions, very clear instructions, it's very easy to go off the rails. But I do think that the use cases where people are trying to do reports, and the more prescriptive you try to be with complexity, it's good luck. Why are you trying to do things like that right now versus getting a lot of, coaching? And AI is good at trend analysis and looking at large quantities of data and helping you understand it. Don't ask it to be manually there. I did have an exchange with Claude once MCP was out, And I was like, oh man, I could make like 100 of these things. And like after, it was so clunky as I was doing it, it was basically like, yeah, don't use me for that. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm so much smarter than adding properties to a HubSpot portal. Like, it's like, yeah, you got a point. It's fair. Right. So I think I try to focus on building trust with AI in general, so that people can focus on the context part that needs to happen, because that's almost always the gap. Right. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that right now, where if you have that mindset, you very quickly realize how unclean your data is, where the data gaps are. And now you've never had a better partner to work with to like figure that out and get it cleaned up. Lastly, I try to avoid calling it a tool. Like it's a new infrastructure of civilization. Like it's there. If you think of it as a tool, as something you're going to delegate tasks to, it's a very quick way to get disappointed as well. And it's a collaborative partner is how I think about it. Like we're in it together, trying to get these outputs. It's not good or bad. And that's where you can be like, okay, like Casey's example, this happens with human beings all the time. Like, oh, at the beginning of the conversation, you understood this word differently. Oh, that's why the nothing's making sense right now. Let's reset. Now that you know what that word means, the way I said it, we get to the answer very quickly together, right? So I love like when talking to people like, yeah, so just like happens with human beings. Like, oh yeah, I guess so. Right. So there's my rant
Yes.
for that.
I have one immediate thing. I'm going to still call it a tool for now, and I think that's more reflective on my journey with AI than it is on AI. Like I have not dived deep enough for me to be able to rely and trust it enough to call it a collaborative partner. And I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I just think I do not use it or have it's not in whatever loops I'm in enough for me to view it that way. It's more of a tool currently, but I think it'd be easy to evolve to that point. The second counterpoint is I would caution everybody, you included, on like it's not a trust, but it's like a reliance, right? The anecdote is GPT was offline for a while the other day, and I had something like people had something due, and it's like I forgot how to write or spell or think for myself. I forgot how to even generate blog copy. I forgot how to do all of this stuff because over reliance is almost counterproductive to you being able to do things without it. Like, how do you view that? We don't have to dive too far into that, Chris, but that's another almost built-in reservation just by my personality type. It's like I still need to be able to function and produce and do things should a server go down, or should anything catastrophic happen and I don't have access to it, right? If it runs my credit card on a weird day and it cancels my subscription because I have zero money in my bank account because I have 4 kids, what happens then? Do I just not exist any longer or not be able to produce and do my job? So that's part of where my head goes as well.
I think that's why it's important to highlight that it's infrastructure that's being applied.
Mhm.
So like people know how to do complex math and do complex math because they want to. Like the rest of us use calculators, right? Like people, like kids in school that are still handwriting, and they're never going to use it ever, like because they're using screens and they're going to be talking to things now. I think there is plenty of conversation to be had, and like that's on a user by user basis. Like what's important to you? Like if you just like doing the thing, so that's why you're continuing, that's okay, right? But don't feel like I don't know if over reliance, because that's like saying over reliance on electricity. And when you can start to think of it like a utility like that, like it sucks when bandwidth goes down, my internet goes down and I can't go live. Like I think I need to solve for that. I've been very lucky, like in the couple years that I've been doing this, but it's not going to stop me from going live, right? Like
Well, I think
there have
part
been
of
some
it,
scary moments with AI so far. Like the one time that claw was down, it was a rough few hours, rough, like half day. Like I did not do some things that I usually would have done because I did not have access to Claude. So it's there, but then we come back to like if HubSpot goes down, if the internet goes down, right? So
yeah, you're never going to be prepared for every scenario. And I think those of us who have a tendency to be preppers for things, like I share a lot of Rob's like just instinct of that. But I think there's also the idea of like the trust but verify like concept when it comes to output. And like Chris, I know you to be an extremely thorough person. So like I know you're going to test the thing, you're going to review it, you're going to check it. Does this pass muster? No, great. What do I learn from it? How do we go back to the drawing board? Where do we make changes? I think the issue is most people are not you. And so a lot of users again don't have that patience, don't have the thoroughness, and maybe don't even have the knowledge and background to be able to verify. And that's been more my concern from it living within technology stacks, has not been the capabilities, it's not been the potential, it's not been the accuracy. It's actually been how humans will interact with it, because the first thing that someone did that I was connected to was a CEO went into the workflow builder and was like, one sentence, this is what I want to happen. Look, it built me a workflow. We don't need an operations person. And so I was like, I love that you want to take advantage of new features. Let me see the workflow that it built. And I was like, oh, yep, it did. It built you exactly what you asked for. Here's the problems with what this will actually create, what this will actually do, where the problems will come down funnel that you don't know about yet, right? And so I was able to show like it did exactly what you told it to do, and that's not good because you don't have enough knowledge to be using it. So I think that that's part of it too, is like maybe reliance is the right word, maybe there's a different word, but that I think we probably all can come around the table to agree that like verification, checks and balances, things need to be in place so that we aren't just assuming that stuff is right. And that's true for humans too. And we've all had people interpret reports and do it completely wrong because numbers are just numbers until you put the narrative behind it. And if you put the wrong narrative, you've made up a completely different scenario, right? And I think that's a lot to do with the AI trust is like, yeah, it might do a great job if we put in the wrong input, wrong output. If we, missed something and we don't check and verify the output all the time, then we're going to miss stuff too. So however risk adverse you are will determine how you use it. Like I'm very risk adverse as a person. I'm going to be very hesitant in how I use things. People who are not risk adverse are going to use it in bigger ways. They're going to have big wins and they're going to take big risks. Like that's just personality.
Man, Chris, do we have another mail? But somebody asked a question, so I want to be mindful of that. There we go. That I have something we can hop back into in a minute.
I have created an association label on the deals object so I can identify deal contact primary one-to-one and deal contact associated one-to-many. I want to set primary contact as the default when a deal is created, but I don't know how.
My mind immediately goes to workflows. Is there a simpler way to do that? Or because that I would just automatically make a workflow so that when your new deal is created, it finds the first contact associated and puts that association tag on it. But I don't know if there's an out of the box way to just say when this happens, use this association label.
Shall we, Casey?
I'm ready. Got it queued up. So for what it's worth, I did also ask Breeze Assistant this just to prove my value to this world.
Great context, Casey.
Thank you.
Good.
So Breeze Assistant suggested manual setup when the deal is created. And this is like a training of people thing, which I also want to be very clear as I go into this example. I think there is a point where we have over automated systems where we're just assigning the primary based on guessing, which is what we're about to do. And so I actually think this first example of training your team to manually select the primary associated, like that's part of their process, is probably your best solution for your cleanest data. But if you want to ignore my warnings there, then we'll keep going into what our workflow automation is. First is a contact-based or deal-based workflow. HubSpot workflows allow you to associate records by assigning a custom association label. But assigning a custom association label is not available as a direct workflow action. And then second, it suggests Operations Hub. And then third, potentially using an API to set this up. So I started with a deal-based workflow. In this portal, deals are labeled as opportunities. If you're following in your own portal and haven't relabeled, just know that. There is the create associations option. So we would be enrolling an opportunity. We would be associating that with a contact. You can apply labels. This is what I was confused about immediately when I read the comment from Breeze. It said you can't use labels, but you can. I think actually the issue is if you don't have a custom label, like there is default labels for primary. I don't know. I actually don't know. But I did create a association already for the deal contact primary. So I would be able to do that, and I would be able to do that for matching properties though. I can't at this point select like the first associated or the first contact created or anything like that. So that's where custom properties come in. So I actually created 3 different custom properties, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure we're going to need all 3, so I'm just gonna introduce them as I use them. The first one we're gonna use is a contact property, and I'm calling this contact property most recent deal ID. This is a sync property. It's going to sync from the opportunity, and I'm going to sync the record ID for all deals, and I'm going to sync the most recently created deals record ID. I'm going to actually use that for a workflow. Because I need to create a contact-based workflow. And I'm going to say the value changed. One property value changed on the contact deal ID is known. Maybe not. Let me go back to what do I want to do? Do I want this to be a deal one or a contact one is what I'm trying to wrap my brain around. If this is a deal-based workflow, I would do the association, opportunity to contact, record, primary, what did I call this? Most recent deal ID. Okay, so this is going to work. Okay. Yeah, so we can make this actually a deal workflow. I'm going to add a delay at the top, amount of time for like 3 minutes. That's just going to give the properties time to sync. And instead of doing this on record creation, delete, I'm going to do this when contacts. I want to do this when a new contact is associated. Number of associated contacts is greater than 0. Okay, so now the deal will enroll whenever there's a new contact associated. This is where properties 2 and 3 come in. So I added another deal property. It's another sync property here. If you're new here, I love sync properties.
I built a
This
few
one
earlier today.
What?
I built a few earlier today.
This sync property is on the deal record, and this is almost the reverse of what I just did. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to sync from the contact record, the record ID, and then I'm syncing, in this case, the record ID of the primary contact. The reason I'm doing that is because I actually want to build a branch right here. And or primary known. It's known. Unknown. Oh, I meant to do that on the other side. Did I do that? Yeah. Okay, move this action. Great. So now I'm saying if the primary contact is known, then they'll go down branch 1, but if it's unknown, it'll go down branch 2. They'll have the contact set to the primary contact record association. If the contact is unknown, then I can still create an association. I'm just going to want to change my label to the deal contacts associated, but I still will have the matching of our opportunity ID with that most recent deal ID record.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I built this fairly recently, but I can't remember which client account it's in. Otherwise, I would go check what we did. But the only thing that I think I did differently was, in case they didn't actually have somebody listed as a primary contact to then use for that, I did when the number of associated contacts to the deal is basically only 1, right? Because if in the process you're like 1 by 1 adding your contacts, that when the associated count is 1, that person went through this kind of flow and caught them and used a field value to find the matching record and then used that to do the association. So very similar. It's gonna be a 3-step, basically weird process to be able to make it happen, but
Mhm.
it works. And again, this is a great example of you having to speak like a computer in order to think through the solution.
Yeah. A couple things I wish we could do. Thank you. One thing that drives me a little bonkers about sync records are your options for your sync records are first created and most recently created. I wish there was like a first associated, most recently associated, because that will potentially cause an issue if the context associated with multiple deals and somehow there was a deal created prior. Like that's where, if it just gets a little mixed up. And if we had that option, then this, you kind of remove a couple of barriers here.
Who's going to ask it? Me or Chris? I don't think we have enough time to do this, but given the conversation right before this, given if you gave AI the exact set of circumstances and the desired output, do you think it would be able to replicate what you just did in less time and with equal amount of accuracy?
I think it would take longer to write the correct prompt than it would be to walk through the steps to build it.
I think that's interesting coming from somebody that is the ultimate layperson, right? And it speaks not only to how smart you have to be to prompt and to think through the level of input required to generate the desired output, how brilliant the two of you are to have similar end states as far as the outcome, but have differences. So one of the things I wanted to launch, again, don't have super a lot of time yet, is almost this concept of, this is not political, but there are 3 branches in the American government, right? And if you think of AI almost like infrastructure, legislative is AI, training, learning, writing, producing, like all of that. It's not law, but it is production. The judicial, right? The judging, that is one of the most unique use cases for me, is like rank these. Chris, you said earlier, it's good at evaluating trends and properties, and it can give you, if you give it criteria, it can give you an opinion. The one that's not owned that we still own yet is the executive. And so in this example, I've done this tons of times for tons of different clients and tons of different like nuance. I know enough to know it's going to take longer for me to figure out the prompt to generate this output than to just go ahead and knock it out quickly myself.
Right.
I find that wildly fascinating.
So then the question becomes, if I take the time to do that, will now AI know for next time and I never have to do it myself again?
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? Then
Scalability
it
becomes the key. And I think that again comes back to our use case, right? Like every person uses things for a different purpose, uses things for a different reason. Like I'm somebody that at this stage of how I do work, I don't typically save like processes to then replicate because most of what I'm doing, usually there's some very weird nuance. And so I would rather have to review every time to make sure that I do not make assumptions and make a mistake and miss something important. But that's not true for a lot of other people and the types of work that they're doing. When it is replicated over and over and over again, take the time, solve it once, and then just press the button and let it go every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that people the thing that is really hard to understand, and this is why it's different than every other time, is that usually it's just us learning. Like HubSpot has not been learning unless the human is actively doing things to make it learn by configuring and customizing. Now the other side is learning at the same time. So as we do those prompts, as we get them wrong, as we get it right, like AI is learning at speed. And what we're going to start avoiding is, well, it's nice that two experts were able to get to the same end result. The fact that they got there in different ways is inherently one of the problems of SaaS,
Mhm.
in that when that person, needs help from somebody else and they've done it a third different way, and now they come in and it takes longer to support and you build tech debt. And that's the thing that AI is going to start cutting through, because that's its job. Like, it's to find efficient ways to do things, find less complex ways to do things.
I also think, like, building off that, like, I have built the same process a few times. I've demoed this on a show already in a different context. I still needed to pause and be like, which workflow, which way? Like, it took me a minute to like figure that out. And I built another property. I built properties I didn't need because I was just trying to like work through it all, that I obviously can go back and clean up. But if AI could do this, and if I could prompt AI to do this, it would make it cleaner and more consistent. Because every time I go back and build this, I do end up pulling up another example, how I built it. But now I'm associating companies and deals. So does that change things and everything like that? Whereas I think AI would do better.
I was going to say, at the rate of innovation, we may be replaced next Friday at 2 Central by Chris's clone. Maybe George's clone will come back from vacation. It's 3:02 my time. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we were able to help with this viewer submitted question. Thank you for that. Make sure you call the number on the bottom of your screen and harass Chris with a complaint or a question. We will review it next time. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you next Friday on the HubSpot helpline.
Hello, you've reached the HubSpot helpline. Helpline.
It's Rob, it's George, it's Casey, and Kyle. Come with a problem and leave with a smile. Every Friday at 3, come and join us as we help you with HubSpot. Open up your LinkedIn, just make sure you call in and leave a voicemail about HubSpot. Make your Friday divine with the HubSpot helpline.